I've been seeing a lot of posts on TikTok about a lot of people spending um, Christmas alone or whatever. And I myself am spending another Christmas alone. So I think it's like the third year in a row that I haven't even like seen my family or anything. Um, what this video is about, I think, is this God being with you in your loneliness. Because loneliness seems to really be more, I guess, potent or something around the holidays or something. It's almost like we feel like we're supposed to be with somebody, right? Things are supposed to be different. It seems like a lot of people are alone, and you can think that, well, how do you be with God, right? Whenever you are alone, and I will just share like what my experience has kind of been is you feel alone and you give that to God, and then you find that He actually feels alone with you. So it's not really like someone who's with you in a traditional sense. At least I haven't really experienced that. It's like He's with me, but He's my companion in loneliness. That is then making loneliness something that He has recorded as a way of looking back. He's going to fill in the gaps of this loneliness and say, this has not been wasted. There's something about whenever you're alone and then you have, I guess, and I think this is because of the internet age or whatever, you have a bunch of strangers supporting you. That to me is not great. I don't think that it is. Because it almost like scratches something, but only enough to irritate it. Like it's good, it can feel kind of soothing, but I don't think you're left with very much. But for those that God has isolated, and you find that like everything is dry, I think to be with God on the holidays or whatever, we'll just say because it's Christmas today, it's like you, and it may not be this Christmas, because it's something that I think becomes something, right? Looking back and saying that felt like that was wasted, but you didn't waste it. Like He fills in the gap of the past with a knowing of His presence. So you go through feeling lonely, and I think at first you feel lonely, and you don't feel Him. But in that place of need, it's like your heart is postured towards Him. And I want to say that grace floods in. This is what it's been doing in my life. And it doesn't make me feel like I'm not feeling lonely, right? Like I still feel loneliness, but I'm given something for my trouble. A knowing of His presence, one who is a companion in my loneliness, one who I am looking to in faith without communicating it. I think this is just transpired over time, like He just knows where I'm at, and I know where I'm at with Him, and there's trust. So He hears my sigh, right? He hears my okay, okay, okay. But it's not like you just get to this place overnight, because I think initially, like, well, for the longest time, we're trying to avoid loneliness. I think we're stigmatized in this way where loneliness is like your fault or something. But this day and age, people seem to just be drawn into loneliness. Can't help but be lonely. It's very isolating. These screens, the internet age has really taken us into a new form of loneliness. I think that so many people are in. But there's this, I think, surrender at the right time, right? That will transform loneliness for you, like it is transforming for me. Where it doesn't mean you don't feel the suffering of it, but you're brought into knowing that He is not wasting it. but that he cares about you in your loneliness. So having a companion in loneliness is not you not feeling alone. It's someone who's sharing in the suffering of loneliness with you. Someone who is putting on that place with you and saying, I'm with you in this emotion. I'm not going to waste this suffering. Right? There's a reason why I'm not surrounding you with people, but I know how this affects you. I know that it is not good for man to be alone, for woman to be alone forever. I know that this hurts you. But I want to bring you into knowing that I'm suffering alongside with you. And what I am going to do with this suffering will far outweigh the reality of if you were surrounded by family or friends or random people in the comment section of your TikToks. It's fine. It has a place. But when he takes you away from even that, and there's no way to fight the feeling of loneliness, and it seems like it's going to overtake you, you find yourself surrendering in it. Grace positions you to look to him. I believe that you will find a God who is very compassionate, very understanding, a just God. That's just like, I'm causing you to be lonely. I'm allowing you to be alone. And I know you feel this, but I will not waste the suffering. I will not waste the pain. And it's something I think that you learn in time as he takes you deeper into himself. That I have found in loneliness, where it just becomes something else. And looking back, it becomes a place that felt like it was dry and lacking. It gets filled with so much richness because it was painful. Because it was painful. Longing can be a very good thing. But I think the desperation, the need, and taking your heart to him. Because I'm not going to say that being with God in that is like, now you don't feel alone, you feel better. It's like, no, there are days, holidays, where it's not going to feel good. But I think in the place that it doesn't feel good, in his hands, he can fill in the gaps of when it didn't feel good, so that you have joy where there was once sorrow. You will have joy where there was once sorrow. Why? Because it sucked. Because it didn't feel good. But you were given so much more for your trouble. The suffering that you endured was not wasted. But instead it has positioned you to come to know of your companion in loneliness. One who puts on the loneliness with you and says, I'm with you right here. Like I'm here with you right here. And you're like, I still feel alone. I feel alone. If God is with me, then how come I feel alone? It's like, because that's the cost. That seems to be the cost. But if it didn't cost anything, it wouldn't be worth very much. And I think this is what he takes into account. And this is why the Lord he seems to have a face. His countenance seems to be that of sorrow and that of joy. If you were to look at God and say, what do I have to go through in my life to get to where you want to take me? You will see the sorrow in his eyes because of the cost. But he knows something about the cost that will make it worth it. That's why he has the joy. He knows what he's going to give you for your troubles, but you will have to experience trouble. You will have to experience that, but it will not be wasted. So you will find yourself a companion in loneliness, someone who shares in your suffering, someone who will not waste it. It will be a one-on-one thing between you and him. God, you saw me when I was in that place, and you were with me in that place where it didn't feel good.